Okay, good morning, everyone. I've just been told that we can start. So, how many of you were here in the previous talk just now? Okay, quite a few of you. So, the Kahoot must have got you all energized and excited, right? Pretty inspiring stuff. So, first and foremost, I think thank you for the opportunity for letting me be at this event and speaking in front of this crowd. It's an exciting opportunity. Just tell me if I'm too loud for the people at the back, or I'm whispering just about in the right volume. Okay, great. So super happy to be here with this opportunity to speak at this event. Also, I'll begin with a very short story from earlier in my career. So 10 years back, 2008. This was a time when I was still a developer and I was working on a very innovative solution. I was super excited about this, and that's because I had filed the patents on this. So naturally, I was invested in this. I spent more than a year working on this software solution on a smartphone, ported this on many platforms, added several new features to it, spent a lot of time. And yet today, 10 years later, I often think back, was that idea really interesting? Was that adding any value to the users that I was making it for? For that matter, I even question sometimes, was that innovation at all? Right? Have any of you ever worked on solutions before, had the same feeling on the projects you worked there? Have you ever questioned the value of the innovation that you've created? Was it useful at all? Well, so I'm going to be taking hopefully 35 minutes speaking about a product manager's perspective into innovation, especially asking, who do you innovate for? And at this point, you'd be right in asking, why a product manager's perspective? Why do I care about that at all? Right? So before that, let's do a mid-morning exercise. Can all of you stand up? Sorry, it's not going to take too long. All of you who are developers is the earliest ones that can sit down probably. No developers in the room. Oh, okay, sorry, all of you developers. So this means I need to slow down my Indian speed of speaking, right? That's a good note. So designers, so I know one of you is a designer. Other designers sit down. Any product managers in this room? None. What's your backgrounds? Maybe if you can just quickly give me. Okay. Okay, you?
No, I didn't get your question. I'm a developer.
A developer. So you should have sat down before. I made you stand longer. So you can sit down as well. Project manager. What about you? Innovation. Great. So you all can sit down. So like I promised, it was not for long. And I clearly get the cue, I need to speak slower. So that's a good start for me. So the reason I did this was to try and understand who is the audience here. I'm trying to understand who my customer is. Being a product manager, typically that's one of the first things, understanding who am I talking to. So at this point, trying to ask why care about the product manager's perspective at all. That's because a product manager spends more than half his time managing innovation. Product leaders, product managers are responsible for creating the future of the company. They are responsible to create the roadmap for the products that are existing in the company. And they are hence, by definition, responsible to create new revenue streams, new opportunities for the business. Some product practitioners say, well, product managers are like CEOs of the product. That makes me feel amazing. CEO of the product, right? But there is a catch. He's a CEO of the product, but without any authority. All those chairs out there are always empty because no one reports into a product manager typically. Usually a product manager is leading more by influence than by authority. So let's frame this together, right? Product leaders are spending more than half their time managing innovation. They are the ones responsible to create the future roadmap of the company. They are the ones finding new revenue streams for your business. That seems like a right guy to talk to when thinking about the future of your business and when thinking about taking your innovative ideas up into the future. So what I will now do is we'll basically we'll hack into a product manager's head, if I can call it so, among the community of developers. We'll look at what's the underlying rationale, what kind of decision framework is typically running in a product manager's head when he's looking at different innovation opportunities and trying to prioritize between them. So at the end of this talk, what I hope you are able to take away is ideas to be innovative more effectively, how to deploy your innovation resources in a much more effective manner, how to increase the likelihood of your ideas as leaders of innovation, how to increase the likelihood of your ideas going to the markets. That's what I hope you are able to take at the end of this talk. I've structured this talk in 3 parts. First, we'll look at the innovation challenge. Then we'll look at the product manager's perspective, because this person apparently spends more than half his time managing innovation. And then we'll look at a solution framework, how to address these challenges, how to work around this, and how to be more effective in innovation. Sounds about right? But first, a quick introduction. So my name is Shubham Bhattacharya. It's a long name, I know. I work as a director of strategic portfolio management with Nagra, previously called Konax, and we are based out of Oslo. We are part of a larger group called the Kudelski Group, which is a leading provider of security and solutions and services, media asset management solutions to the media and the entertainment industry. That's where I come from. I've worked with household brands like Philips and Samsung for a long time, and I'm an engineer at heart, which is why I feel kind of at home within this conference today at NDC Tech Town. The only reason I moved from India to Europe was when I came to France to pursue an MBA, to earn my MBA there at HEC Paris in France. So I have spent, give or take, 8 to 10 years developing in C, C++ myself. I still sometimes out of hobby code in C++. And I flirted with technology and innovation during all these years. But where I really found my calling was product management. So when I worked with Philips, I was a product manager for the smart TVs at Philips. And until more recently, I was looking after security solutions for the pay TV industry. So that's a bit about me. So we quickly jump into the innovation challenge. And for those who were in the previous presentation, you've seen the same names before: the Nokia, the Kodak, the BlackBerry. What's common among these guys? What's common among these companies? For one, they're all technology companies. Second, they were all market leaders. The more operative word is they were market leaders. They are not anymore in the same form, shape, or size that they were before. What happened? Why do they not exist anymore in that same manner as they were market leaders before? Clearly something went wrong. They probably did not invest their resources, their innovation resources, in the right places. So we'll see. I'm sure all of you here are familiar with Lego. But did you know that Lego at one point in time was nearly bankrupt? Back in 2003, so many of you nodding, so great to know that. Back in 2003, they had $800 million of debt on their books. That's close to $1 billion of debt. That's massive debt. Their sales were down and their patents had expired. Now Lego's key competitive advantage was their patents. Those having expired meant there were copycat products in the market, which means their revenues were under pressure, so they were in a really bad shape. Now that's my 8-year-old daughter playing with Lego friends. Thankfully, to the CEO, the new CEO from Lego, who was brought in the year 2004, this new CEO turned the business around. He reinvented Lego. What do you think he did? Did he come in on day one and said, let's make new products? Quite the opposite, really. He actually said, let's look at the backyard first. So he first cleaned the house, saying, let's look at the manufacturing process. He triggered innovations in the manufacturing process to simplify all of that, remove the complexity. Then he looked at all the existing initiatives and the products that were within the Lego portfolio, and he took the bold steps of killing stuff that were not core to the business. If this initiative or if this product is not core to the business, it does not need to exist. We do not need to invest more, period. And it was only after that did they take the steps on introducing new products. And even for this, they went out in the market, spoke with people, tried to find underserved segments like young girls. My 8-year-old daughter is an example of that, because they looked at the needs of this segment of kids playing with Lego, found interesting ideas, and then figured that they can make the product line like Lego Friends, which was really an instant hit with them. So Lego clearly did something different in terms of prioritizing their innovation compared to the other 3 companies you saw before. So at this point, it's also interesting to ask, how difficult is this? Do companies, mature companies that are market leaders making enough profits, when they want to grow by entering new businesses, how easy or difficult is it for them? Is it easy for them to grow in new businesses, by entering new businesses? What kind of success rate do they have? Research says 90% of them fail. That's a massive number. Idea being, most of them fail to grow by entering new businesses. There are many challenges that are involved around this. So when you're looking at innovation resources, so the leaders of innovation teams here, at this point, ask yourself, are you asking the right questions when you're creating new innovative ideas? When you're drafting the initiatives for innovation, when you're going to product leaders, when you're going to innovation leaders, when you're looking at stakeholders in the company, taking an idea ahead, are you asking the right questions when creating that innovative idea? Are you solving the right problems? Like I like to say, are you hitting the hammer on the right head? Even more importantly, are you solving the problems of the people that matter to the business? Are you addressing the right audience? So which is why it's important to ask, who do you really innovate for? Are you with me so far? Okay. So I'm going to put quickly 3 things that matter from the perspective of innovation, from the perspective of a product manager. When a product leader is looking at different innovative ideas, what is he thinking about? First and foremost, resources. Now there is certain financial position of a company. There might be a lot of money with the company left, enough cash, but it's always going to be limited, a lot or less, but it's always limited. And then there are different innovative ideas, there are different teams in innovation competing for the same set of cash, right? So companies have to make those choices. Where do we put the bets on? Then there is the aspect of people, competency. All these years, your company has spent a lot of effort and time building the competencies and being experts at a certain area. Now, all of a sudden, if you need to do something else, means you need to invest somewhere else, get new people, new competency, or train your existing workforce. And doing all of that takes time. And time waits for no one. Especially in this age of hyper competition, it's very crucial to get all of these things done pretty quickly. So this is one of the key challenges a product leader has when he's given 2, 3, 5 different innovative ideas, and he has to rack his brains on, how do I look at the resources, where do I balance them? Then we look at the fact that a product leader is often, because he's responsible for the future of the company, he walks into the executive management meeting and has to present a business case to get a buy-in. Now, getting a buy-in means he has to be very clear about the kind of opportunity he's speaking about. So product leaders are said to be the voice of the customer, bringing all the feedback from the market into the company. And on the other hand, he has your insights in terms of the technological capability of the workforce. So where is that sweet spot? Where is that intersection? He has to find that intersection. Why? Because he's responsible to create value for the customer and capture value for the business. He has this dual balance responsibility, and doing this as a daily job is not easy. So when he walks into the management meeting asking for resources, he has to be very clear on his objectives. What is the objective? Is he looking, with this initiative that you have proposed, is he looking at creating additional revenues, or is he looking at more margins, more profit margins? Or is it simply saying, in the competitive ranking, I want to get up in that ranking? Or is it about improving brand equity? There could be any one or more of these objectives. Idea being, he has to be very clear about this. So you as innovation leaders, as developers, when you're thinking of new ideas, how can you make, one, his job easier when he has to go in, two, increase the likelihood of your ideas getting selected and going to the market. And the third aspect, the final key thing that is important from a product leader's perspective, is the role is very cross-functional. And what do I mean by cross-functional? He works with people from different parts of the organization. Why is that important? Why do you care? Because he is not just thinking about building the products. It's much more than that. He works with you and with designers to conceptualize new products and ideas. He's working with marketing, pre-sales, sales, on how to sell this out in the market. How do we talk about this product? And then, surprisingly, he's also working with support and services to figure out how customers will be supported and serviced once they've been sold this product. So when you have, right at the beginning of the funnel, your innovative ideas, he's still thinking a bit about all of these with different weights, but yet it's on his head. Interestingly enough, even how do I eventually kill the product gracefully? That's also a topic on his head. So it's a very cross-functional role. I'm trying to understand beyond just building the product. So at this point, we said the three key challenges he has is he has limited resources. How do I balance all of that? Then he has the challenge of balancing between creating value for the customer versus capturing value for the business on a daily basis with the new innovative ideas. And then lastly, all the aspects he has to do beyond just building products. So what can be done? So we'll walk into a solution framework here. I'm going to give you 3 parts of the solution framework, and during this I will give you some examples of things that I have done extremely wrong, some things we did right, and some examples from the industry out there which are really interesting to look at. So the first one, it's important to know your user. When you're creating an innovative idea, try and understand who is your user and why. Because that helps you define what is the key value proposition of your solution. When you're creating a new innovative idea, brainstorming around it, thinking about it, you try to understand what is the need of your customers, what is the need of your users, what kind of objectives are they trying to fulfill. Without understanding that, you're just going blind. So understand the needs, the pains, and the wants. How can you solve the pains your user has in fulfilling the objective he's trying to fulfill there? So try and understand that. Interestingly enough, I think user research hence has to be very much a part of the entire innovation process. I think we have a talk from you later today at 5. I will be there for sure to see how you can use user research to go across all these barriers. It's not that tough. That's basically the idea. So know your user, because that helps you understand where do you need to innovate for. I'll give you an example of where I think this was done really well. Something I appreciated once I started using a service. Now, exactly 2 years back, this was August 2016, when I moved from Belgium to Norway. I moved to Oslo. And the early parts of the early onboarding process was about opening a bank account with a local Norwegian bank. Now, the lady at the counter who was helping me with this, she's helping me fill out the forms, do everything, and then she asks, "Do you speak Norwegian?" I had just moved from Belgium to Norway. Not really. Well, 2 years have gone by, and truth be told, if I still walk to the restaurant next to my office and I have to order the number 31 on the menu, I still say 31 med kylling. That's about it, right? That's the only Norwegian I speak. So when the lady asks me 2 years back, "Do you speak Norwegian?" I politely say, "Sorry, I don't." And at this point, she pulls out a set of printout of paper and says, "This is a user guide to help you navigate all the Norwegian internet banking pages of our website." Like, okay. Then I think, well, I have a browser which translates web pages. I'll probably survive. So I take that user guide reluctantly and say, "Okay, no worries, I'll survive. It's okay." But you know what happened after that? So I downloaded the mobile app of this bank on my phone, and that app was in English. Hurrah! That was a kind of a winning thing for me. Interestingly enough, all the services and the offerings that they had was available in this app in English for me to use. So clearly this bank knew that they had a set of users which was not native and needed English as the language. So they prioritized putting their money, putting their resources on this kind of features where we need to bring these innovation services to these users here. So I think when I realized that I spend 99% of my time banking on the mobile bank at my fingertips, this was a complete win-win situation. So that was absolutely okay. So I think this bank did this job really well. And this gives me the realization that if you don't understand your user, you might end up pushing technology, doing an overkill of stuff that you really love, right? So remember the story I started at the beginning with 10 years back, me being passionate about a software solution I was making on smartphones. I was pushing technology. Let me elaborate that. So let me try and visualize this solution that I was creating. So I used to work with Samsung back then, smartphones, right? And one of the key drivers of our innovation programs was improving the multimedia experience of users on the phone. By that meaning, should be able to watch videos, images, listen to music in an interesting manner, like improve that experience. That was the basic idea. So we said, okay, considering that, I filed a few patents and then we created this solution around video solution. So imagine your smartphone screen with 4 videos laid out in a grid, in a 2x2 grid, right? So you have 4 videos on the screen. Now, the patent was about previewing all the 4 videos at the same time. You could see all the 4 videos at the same time. Brilliant, right? You can make a choice. So I was super passionate about this. And then, yet what happens next is the designer who sits far, far away in South Korea, he sends an interaction guideline saying, brilliant, we will have 1 video playing and the remaining 3 static. They shouldn't move. It should be static. Keep it just like that. Only 1 playing. I couldn't believe myself. My patent is about playing 4 videos at the same time. I cannot keep the 3 static. That's not going to happen. So I tried rationalizing a bit. Didn't work, of course. He was hell-bent on his suggestion. But you know what I did? I was stubborn. I ignored his advice. No, I am going to keep all the 4 videos playing, or even more actually at the same time. And I ported this solution on many different platforms. And this was back in the day when Windows CE and Symbian operating systems existed. So imagine the passion about being able to play more videos together, right? It was impossible back then. So I did it on all these platforms. And then I added more features to it. So that was the more than 1 year effort spent. Now, a few designers probably think that was a bad idea. I know it now. So we as humans often have a tough time focusing on one thing. Imagine focusing on 4 videos at the same time. That's a goner. And instead of making the multimedia experience interesting and easier and all of that, I did exactly the opposite, where the user had to see 4 videos, completely confused and unable to concentrate on which video should I be looking at. So that was a clear example of me trying to push technology, saying, I can decode 4 videos. Don't do that again. So don't push technology, look at your users, try and understand their needs, and that's really where you will find innovative ideas to work on. So we looked at knowing your user. The second one, know your customer. I just said user. So know your user, customer. Are they not the same, you would ask? Well, depends. So some of you nodding, which is great. So it's important to understand who your user is, because that's embedded somewhere in your business model. Understanding who is your user, what does he want, and how do you fulfill his needs opens up new avenues for you as innovation leaders to create new ideas. So imagine LinkedIn. I'm guessing most of you use or are on LinkedIn. You and I, as users on LinkedIn, are one set of customers for LinkedIn, right? For LinkedIn, the company. Then there are brands. You often see advertisements flashing up in LinkedIn, right? There are brands that are advertising on LinkedIn. That's a second set of customers. And then there are companies which use LinkedIn as talent solutions to hire people for jobs. That's the third set of customers. That's not just one, 3 customers in a business model. This is a multi-sided business model, which means innovation teams there have the opportunity to create ideas, not just for the end user, but other customer segments. So keep that in mind. Often in the case of very simple direct-to-consumer businesses like Spotify. So I have a paid Spotify music subscription. I pay a certain amount of euros or NOK every month for the service that I get. So in this case, in a direct-to-consumer model, it's pretty simple. The user and the customer is the same. So then you have focused ideas that you want to run there. If you have users who are not paid users, they are using advertisement, they're using the freemium model, then the advertisers become the customers. Again, there you find someone else to innovate for. When I was working in Philips, I asked a set of developers in the teams, who do you think is the customer for Philips TV? Philips TV, Samsung, and all the others. Who is the customer for Philips TV here? Not surprisingly, the answer comes back. It's really us buying the TV, watching it in the living room. It's those people who buy the TV, watch it in the living room. That's the normal answer I get. But is it? Is it really the customer for all these kinds of devices you create? Honestly speaking, the customer for Philips in this case is the retailer. It's that shop shelf where you see this TV lined up. That intermediary, that is the retailer, is the customer for Philips TVs here. So it's the John Lewis in the UK, the MediaMarkt in other parts of Europe, or Elkjøp Power in Oslo. That's the customer. Why does it matter? Because this tells you that you do not need to create innovative ideas or innovative solutions only for the end user who is buying the TV, but you can also look at fulfilling the needs of the retailer who is the customer for Philips TV. So that was an eye-opener for the developers where like, oh, we have been making fancy stuff with the smart TV, this and that, but we could have thought about the retailer. So that's an eye-opener for people often. So earlier this summer, and summer is hopefully not over yet in Oslo, earlier this summer I was reading the biography of Jeff Bezos. So he's the founder and CEO of Amazon, as many of you would know. And there was a very interesting anecdote in this book. So in the early part of the book, they talk about the time when Amazon used to only sell books on their website. So history, yes. And back then, Amazon did something. They put in the feature on their websites. They invested and developed a feature where they allowed customers to put feedback on the books they were buying. So you could actually go write, this book is brilliant, or I did not really enjoy this book. Your choice. Now imagine what would the book publishers, the publishers who were further selling these books on Amazon's website, what was their reaction? What would be their reaction? They all went up in arms saying, that's a bad idea. You let customers put feedback on your website on the books. If they put a bad feedback, if they put a negative feedback, the book doesn't sell. Amazon, you don't make money. This is what the book publishers said. Now, even back in the time when Amazon sold only books, so this is really long back, Jeff Bezos had a very different take on this. He says, we don't make money by selling things on the website. You'd imagine they really make money by selling stuff on the website. But the very interesting perspective he has is we make money by helping our customers make purchase decisions. It's not about selling them stuff, it's about helping them buy stuff. So back then versus now, you see what Amazon is, you almost assume that feedback, product reviews and feedback is expected today. It's something that started back then, and that's one of the reasons why you go back to these websites to buy new products, because you rely on those reviews and feedback. And that's how online retailers then happen to be able to make money. Point being, the entire business model of Amazon was focused around the fact of customer obsession. any innovative idea, any innovation that needs to happen has to be focused around customer obsession. The partners like publishers are there, yes, but the customer is king. That was the idea they had. So understanding your business model, knowing who your customer or customers are, opens up ideas for you to innovate in. So you don't need to just look one track. You can actually have more than one track to find new ideas. So we looked at knowing your user. We looked at knowing your customer. I've amply said that they may or may not be the same. That's a realization to always keep at the back of your mind, knowing your business. What's the third one? Knowing your business, the metrics of your business. Do you know if your business is making money, it's making profits? Is it in the green? Or is your business in the red, making losses? Why do you need to understand these things? Understanding even, am I a leader in the market? Is my business a leader or is it a laggard? Am I leading here or am I far behind? Understanding this is important because that helps you understand the business priorities. And that will help you figure out where to invest your innovation resources. Should I spend time on a brilliant idea, which is a moonshot project coming in 10 years from now, versus something that will help me deliver a new idea in 2 years or 6 months or 1 year, medium term, long term, short term? It helps you balance those ideas. We always have this dilemma about innovation. Should I create brand new features, which we often love, or should I be just improving the features we have because, well, they haven't been used enough. I think there is still potential if I change this or that. So that dilemma always exists. But combine that with the state of your business. So at this point, I'd like to ask, how many of you have a Philips TV? No one. We didn't do our marketing well. Good. So have you heard of Ambilight? Oh, we did our marketing well, we didn't do our sales well. Okay, so you've clearly heard about Ambilight, and what I'm going to show you is a brief 30-second video. I take the clip. We do a brief 30-second video showing you what this feature looks like and what it does. And I'll come tie this to the innovation bit in just a second. So this is a Philips TV, like any other TV right now. And then you will see the difference when Ambilight goes on. So there are LEDs behind this TV at the border, which takes the scene on the screen and replicates this on those LEDs and puts it back on the wall, of course, behind, which creates a fantastic living room experience. So this is a picture of the Philips TV in my room, in my living room here, where you see the same scene with the Ambilight on and off. And you can immediately recognize the difference in the immersive experience you have. Now this is a unique selling proposition that Philips has had for quite a while. They have been innovating on this. They have been filing patents. They have the intellectual property. And yet, how do you demonstrate something like this in a retail shop? Brightly lit shops, too many lights out there because you have to see what you got to see. And then all the TVs are lined up one after the other next to each other or hanging on the wall or on the shelves down there. How do you bring this immersive living room experience into TVs in the retail shop, show the value of this to the end user who's buying it, and make a sale? That was the challenge we had for quite a while. And that's when we decided that while we had many innovative ideas in the pipeline that we could invest in, we said, in the current situation where profitability was supposed to be key, all innovation, all investments to be done have to be targeted towards profitability. We have to reduce waste in the organization. Under that umbrella, we decided to invest in improving the demonstration of this feature on the shop floor. So what we did effectively is we created solutions, applications, and setup and everything to help Philips's customer. That's the retailer. The customer is the retailer, right? So we help the retailer demonstrate and sell this on the shop floor. And what comes as a result is the retailer is able to charge the end user, the final customer like you and me, a premium because he can actually show this, saying it, look at the fantastic immersive experience. I'm going to charge you 50 euros more. Well, that you can, the number is dicey there. So part of that, of course, then comes into our business, right? So our objective of maintaining profitability, increasing profitability, not investing in other innovative ideas which might have not brought us the returns, rather helping the customers, the retailers here, make the sale was key when looking at prioritizing between innovative ideas. So product leaders typically then look at these aspects, the user, the customer, understanding the business metrics, and then when you bring an innovation idea to him, he looks at how to assess and evaluate between these. So in closing, what we talked about was understanding your user, because you want to find out what pains he has, what needs they have, how do you solve them, what kind of challenges can you solve for them. Understanding your customer based upon your business model, because you might just be hung up on innovating for the end user, but there are more opportunities to innovate for your channels, for instance, like the retailer, and that might improve the likelihood of your ideas going to the market. And lastly, understanding your business, because you don't want to be told by the management, moonshot, but I'm really struggling with profitability right now. So keep that perspective as well. So understanding your user, your customer, and your business is basically knowing your context. What's the context? Your own context. Are you making, like we talked about before, the user, his needs, pains, the profitability aspects, the business metrics that you have. So knowing your context thus is key to this part. So if you go back to the very first slide, look, I jumped quickly. So if you go back to the very first slide, who do you really innovate for? The answer to that is really you innovate for your context. Your business is different from the one of your neighbors. You have your own set of challenges. You have your own set of innovation competencies, your own markets, your own business models. They are in a combination. They are all unique. Try and understand your context and then innovate for that context of yours. I think I've managed to finish more or less on time. So that's all I had. You can reach me at this URL, bit.ly, contact Shubham. I have all my coordinates up there. If you would be so nice to even give me feedback, you'll find a form up there. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I will be around for some time today. Would be happy to chat as well. Thank you so much.